the studio behind the beloved franchise Ori, right? They said they might have to shut down. So my hope for this is like the next time you're leaving a negative Steam review, you might want to rethink that. And the Ori studio Red basically came out and said, "Oh, the head of the studio," and then he sort of walked it back. Was like, "No, no, don't worry, we're gonna be okay financially." But again, a lot of other publishers have picked this up. I saw a game rant story about 3 hours ago talking about the same thing. And basically, they've done what a lot of other studios have done, which is they were like, okay, we've made Ori 1, we've made Ori 2, wonderful games, totally well received on Switch, on PC, on PlayStation, I'm sure as well. But they're like, okay, again, with any game developer, like we've committed 8 years, 9 years, 10 years to this particular series. We want to try something different. So they released a game, No Rest for the Wicked. And No Rest for the Wicked is, unfortunately, and again, you can roast me down in the comments, another Souls-like, crazy difficult game. And again, I think it's unfortunate these sort of games keep coming out, but again, maybe this sort of leads into the fact that maybe there is sort of like a burnout on this genre of gaming. So the release No Rest for the Wicked, they did a bunch of YouTuber promotions. A guy that I like to watch, Force Gaming, he talked about the game, and as usual with the structure of this sort of sponsored videos is wonderful things, criticisms at the end. And for most YouTubers, given Adam and I know this, right, like YouTuber viewer duration, they watch 80% of the video if you're an amazing YouTuber, much less if you're like an average YouTuber like we are, maybe 50% if we're lucky. So they just see the good things and they go and they try the game. And at the moment, this game is currently sitting at mixed reviews on Steam. The CEO of the company was like, hey, he went on Discord and he wrote a long message saying, look, we're kind of struggling because these negative reviews are impacting who actually thinks about buying the game. And of course, that's totally true. Like, I'm someone, if I see a mixed review for a game that's even on my wish list, I'll remove it from my wish list just because my brothers and I were talking about this yesterday. My Steam wish list is, I got it down under 200 games, and now it's coming back to 200 games again that I want to buy at some point. So I try to decrease it as much as I can. I mean, even if it's a game's in mixed review, like as a middle-aged, as an older gamer, as somebody who's already mapped out the rest of 2025 in terms of gaming, I don't have time to. I wouldn't want to spend my money on a mixed game. I might even like a game like Clear Obscure, which looks beautiful and is amazing. Listening to some of the downsides of the game, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to pay full price for this. I think the developers deserve full price, but I don't want to pay full price because I'm not sure I can get past certain mechanics of the game. So coming back to No Rest for the Wicked, my question to Adam is, and to you guys, again, comment down below, I'd love to hear what you think, is when you leave a negative review on Steam, or have you left one? I think I do try to leave reviews, especially for studios I'm passionate about, like Coral Island, I left one. I don't think I've left a negative review in a very, very long time, maybe since before the Steam review process started. Do you consider those negative reviews and how they impact the studio? Do you think it's fair for the studio of the Ori studio to come out and say, Moon Studios, to say, hey, can you start leaving some positive reviews, because you might not be able to finish the game? I mean, what's the line between negative reviews and affecting the studio and getting feedback on a game? Because again, this game is in early access. You are supposed to leave reviews. That is part of the process. So Adam, what do you think about this ruckus?
It's really complicated. I mean, obviously, they have the right to come out and say, "Hey, guys, we need some help," and right now, we need you to post some good reviews because we're kind of struggling here. So, I mean, they have every right to ask for that. On the other hand, why do you have so many negative reviews? Like, I know review bombing is kind of a popular thing right now. People do it all the time, especially with when and sometimes it has nothing to do with the game at all. Sometimes it has to do with maybe an individual who worked on the game posting something publicly that people were unhappy with. Sometimes it has to do with the game not running on certain settings, and then people posting bad reviews in kind of solidarity of that. I've seen that where people say, you know, like, oh, you know, this game doesn't run well on certain graphics cards or something like that. And, you know, it's, but then you have people that post and they'll put negative comments because they're like, oh, it's not running for everybody. Even though it runs fine for me, it's not running for everybody, so I need to put a negative review. I've seen that before. I don't know if there's a better way to do reviews because, I mean, Steam's kind of polar, right? You either say recommended or not recommended, and that's it. You know, you can't say like, oh, okay, this is a 7 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, or, you know, if for instance, if you were saying like, oh, you know, this game's got some flaws, but it's still playable, you know, I'd give it a 7 or, you know, maybe a 6.5 or something like that. You know, you either just have to say, yes, I recommend this game, or no, I don't recommend this game. You can't be like, well, you know, it's a good, but it has some work, it has some ways to go. There's no middle ground on that. But then again, I don't know if that would be better, because if you did that, you know, if you know, for people who are just going to put a 0 on it, and that's going to drastically, you know, a 0 is going to pull it down way further than, you know, a 1 or, you know, out of 1 or 2 than it would out of 10, you know, just because the way averages work and whatnot. So yeah, I don't really know if there's a good solution to this. But it is something that I do think about sometimes, you know, like, oh, how do we impact, especially in today's market with the way games work. For example, one thing that I always kind of think of, and I'm not quite sure what the right answer is the whole thing with pre-orders. For instance, I'm the kind of person who, if I see a game and I'm really interested in it, I will pre-order the game. And even if it comes out buggy, you know, I'll stick with it, and hopefully they'll patch it out. Then you have people like Antoine who go the opposite way, and they're like, why would you ever buy a game on release? Just wait for sales, which is a perfectly valid way of thinking. But at the same time, if everybody was doing that, a game would release, they would get no sales immediately, and they would say this game is a failure, and then they would not patch it. They would just abandon it, and it won't get sequels no matter how good the game is. So in a way, you need people to be initially investing in a game, for, you know, for it to succeed. You know, you need those X many sales within the first week, you know, because if even if a game is great, but everyone's waiting for sales, you know, they're gonna say, oh, in the first week this game only sold 500,000 copies. This game is, you know, nobody's buying it. Nobody wants this game. And then you're gonna look at it and you'll be like, oh yeah, and then maybe I should ignore that game. It's not popular. When in reality it would be. It's just everyone's waiting for sales. So yeah, it's weird how we have an impact on games. I mean, definitely vote with your wallet, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's complicated because, I mean, you can't say, well, you should, you know, screw it, just buy a game on release, don't wait for sales. No, absolutely not. If you want to wait for a sale, absolutely wait for a sale. But at the same time, doing that does have an impact on the game's success. So yeah, I don't know. It's really complex, and I don't know what the right answer or what the right solution is.